Hello everyone, and welcome back to One Love, Wellbeing and Lifestyle Show. My name is Dr. Peter Amato, and I'm here today joined with my co-host, Uptown Miss Julia Brown from the friendly island of St. Martin in the Caribbean.
Pleasure to be here, Dr. Amato, joining you on this wonderful show.
Nice to be with you as well, Miss Brown.
Okay.
And folks, we have a show prepared for you today that'll knock your socks off. We have a gentleman back on our show. He's a regular guest, Dr. Howard Fisher. Dr. Fisher is an author, a world-class lecturer, and pretty much a scientist. He's a doctor of medicine. He's a doctor of integrative medicine. He's also a chiropractic physician. He's written 19 books. He's had them published in 12 languages, and he's talked in over 30 countries around the world. Today he's going to give us a nice download, a nice talk on what we call electropollution, also known as electromagnetic radiation. Wow, quite a topic. All right, get your water and take your seat, and we'll be back with Dr. Fisher in just a minute.
Okay, welcome back to One Love, Wellbeing and Lifestyle Show, and we have our special guest, Dr. Howard Fisher. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Julia.
Okay, great. And our host, Dr. Peter Amato.
Hello, everyone.
Today, as we speak about the electromagnetic radiation, it's a broad topic, and he's going to break it down for us and tell us how we can solve it, what can be done, and just give us general information. Dr. Fisher, take it away. What is EMF?
Electromagnetic radiation is frequencies, whether they're microwave or they're harmonics of power lines, that can have physiological effects on our body. And the situation is that they are everywhere. Whether you feel them or not, you may not feel things at a cellular level. So that's what we're referring to with that.
Where does electromagnetic force can be found? Where are they radiating from? Where can we get those? Where are they radiating from? Electromagnetic radiation.
Do you have a cell phone?
Everybody has a cell phone.
Do you have electricity in your house?
Everybody has most people has electricity.
Do you have Wi-Fi?
Most people.
Oh, well, there you go. So with the 7 billion cell phones on the planet and 7 billion people on the planet, it seems that everybody has one, so you're correct. So how do they work? Something going through the air? Would there be something going through the air? How does your phone work? Would there be information going through the air? Would there be a radiation going through the air?
Absolutely, Dr. Fisher.
Absolutely.
Due to the fact that we're all interconnected with cell phone towers.
Bingo. And the towers themselves. So to answer your question, anytime there's information traveling through the air, it's being carried by microwaves. And so it's everywhere. It's prevalent everywhere. We are bathed in an electrosmog that is absolutely everywhere. No matter how isolated you think you are, if your cell phone works, there's electromagnetic radiation.
How about the microwave?
Microwave oven?
Yeah.
That's kid stuff. You can move 3 feet away and it drops down. The problem is not really the carrier wave with cell phone usage. That's not the problem. The problem is actually the information. You see, no one really looked at it properly. We can go back to the first papers, Wertheimer and Leeper in 1979, that started to look for brain cancer, leukemia, within transformer boxes. And they found there was an increased incidence within 141 feet. And this was the first papers that were noticeable here back in the East, in Europe, and in Russia. The Russians knew about electromagnetic radiation. They had actually been able to use it and research it. The U.S. Navy had a researcher called Zorak Glazer who had 5,000 papers in the early 70s about the potential damage and danger from electromagnetic radiation. And when cell phones were coming into play, that information became more and more difficult to find.
As a matter of fact, in the research I've reviewed, the Russians have taken this much more seriously than most other countries.
The Russians knew what to do with it, and were actually, Dr. John Goldsmith, a U.S. researcher, professor, found that there were many cases of cancer that were caused by the radiation used by certain agencies on the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. We don't know the actual source, but we know that there was an increased incidence in that, and we know that there is a definite relationship to that. And I think we can discuss about some of the early research that had gone in there. People negate what we know. People look at the fact that, well, we have Professor Gandhi showing penetration into adult skulls and child skulls, and we have the Singh paper with doctors who found out that DNA breaks, right? Henry Lai and Singh found out that there's DNA breaks from cell phone radiation. DNA breaks, as we know, can lead to more serious diseases.
Wow. So we're learning today firsthand that the air we breathe, that we're constantly bathing in electromagnetic pollution, all of us, all the time.
Absolutely.
And you're going to talk to us about how that affects our health.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. One love. We'll be right back with Dr. Howard Fisher. All right, folks. Welcome back. We're here today with Dr. Howard Fisher. We're talking about electromagnetic fields, electropollution. Tell us more about the devastating results based on this new knowledge.
It's not new knowledge. And as I say, back as far as the 70s, the knowledge was there. We've known about it for some time. I was fortunate enough to be asked to lecture at Gazi University in Ankara, Turkey. Now, at Gazi University in the medical school, they have an interesting department. The department lectures on electromagnetic radiation to all the medical students.
Wow.
And the department does all kinds of research, and they review all the research. So if you were to find out, for example, that your blood-brain barrier opened after 2 minutes on a cell phone, would you change anything? Does that promote toxins getting into your brain? Does that have in any way, shape, or form a relationship to perhaps the increased incidence of dementia or Alzheimer's by allowing toxins into the brain? Well, I'm not saying that it does, but we do know that it can change the membranes. It can change the permeability at the membranes. We do know that it penetrates. Gandhi's work as far back as 1996, and all these tenured professors, when they came out with their work, they were mocked by the companies, by cell phone companies who weren't really looking at the proper information. So I'd really like to clarify that. It's not the cell phone. It's not the carrier wave. Your body really doesn't understand the carrier wave. It's only, in fact, the towers to a degree from the information saying, I've got your phone, I've got your phone, I've got your phone. That's the pinging that it has to be. So you have continuity and the information, whether it's the data, whether it's the images, whether it's the conversation, the words that is going along. So it's like a clothesline that we're hanging bags on, 50-pound bags. We're moving that clothesline and it hits you in the head every time a bag of information hits you. Why? Because at 1900 megahertz, your body doesn't know what that is. A battery-powered phone, how dangerous can that be? So it's the information that's coming in at an organic frequency that's causing the damage. And by not listening to that, there's been attempted cover-ups because they're not realizing that we're responsible. They're not responsible. We're responsible. We're using the computer unprotected, hooked up to the internet. We put the Wi-Fi in. We use the cell phone. We're responsible. We're using the technology. Now, you may say, well, I don't have a cell phone. It doesn't matter because I do, or Julia does, and the information has to get from the tower to the phone. You're affected by the information. that's in the air. And so we're affected by these things, and if they would have listened a little more carefully to the fact that it's not the phone, it's not the provider, that it is in fact the information, they wouldn't have spent so much time trying to cover up. For example, Professor Leif Selfert, Swedish professor, he showed that the blood-brain barrier opens after 2 minutes. He injected a dye in the carotid artery of rats. Bam. 2 minutes later, he was tracking the radioactive dye. You could see it leaking into the brain. So the companies, to protect themselves, redid the experiment, but they didn't inject a carotid artery. They injected abdominally, and in 2 minutes, it couldn't get to the brain. So they said, this is false information. There's a cover-up going on, but the cover-up shouldn't going on because we're all, in fact, responsible. We're all responsible for that. The same thing with the DNA breaks. A double-strand break on a lymphocyte, a double-strand DNA break showing that there's genetic damage from electromagnetic radiation.
Right. That should be enough right there to...
That should have been enough, and
right.
this came along. But Henry Lai, they challenged him on it too. He said, listen, I'm a tenured professor. I don't really care. And there's been so many institutes, Martin Blank, Columbia University. When your body's in distress, it releases what they called heat shock proteins. If there was no distress, they wouldn't be releasing it. Well, Martin Blank found that, Martin Blank, I think Reba Goodman, found exactly that in the paper that they put out. So the evidence is everywhere. The evidence is enough to say, you know what, no one is coming into the world that will not be effective. And they now have gone to 3G and 4G and 5G, which means there's all these little towers, and these little towers are absolutely everywhere. And so it's not the towers, it's the pinging of the towers, but it's the information from the phones. The information that we're talking, we're transmitting, we're sending, we're doing. It's that information that is affecting us. If it's causing a heat shock protein release, if it's having a change in blood-brain barriers being opened, if it's affecting your red blood cells and how they congeal and the erythrocyte sticking together, if it's affecting that, the spatial orientation of them, we are being affected.
Right. George Carlo I reviewed a few years ago. He had a lot of interesting information as well.
George Carlo, he was hired by the companies to prove that they were safe. But in fact, he found the opposite. So George Carlo then was paid a lot of money to find that they were safe, but he never got to that point. And then he basically left all of this behind because it got to be very difficult for him to do anything because he was hired by the wireless technology people to find out they were safe, and he found just the opposite. So there's been a lot of researchers that have come to that position, and what do they do now? Well, the reality is, let's tell the truth. Let's find out what we can do about it. There are things that we can do about it. As a matter of fact, going back to 1986, the U.S. Army realized it was dangerous, and they developed a noise field technology, and the noise field technology was in fact totally protective because it cloaked the information. It made it invisible to the body to perceive. And I'd like to explain that to you in detail, perhaps when we come back and talk about a portable noise field, because there's only one.
So we're talking about airwave and frequency pollution that's affecting our health.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Wow. So when we come back, Dr. Fisher is going to tell us some tips on how we can help save our lives and ourselves. When we come back, right after this break.
Okay, folks. We're back with leading expert Dr. Howard Fisher on electromagnetic radiation. Tell us more about what's happening here in the world and what we can do about it.
Thanks, Dr. Amato. Basically, as this is not a new topic, usually where there's a problem, there's a defense. And so, have you ever played any sports?
Sure.
Referee have a whistle?
He did.
Did he ever blow it close to you?
At times.
Right. So if a referee blows a whistle right in your ear, 3 things will happen. 1, it'll hurt if it's loud enough. 2, there will be some subsequent inflammation because if it's enough to cause pain, it's enough to cause neurological damage. So we got pain, inflammation, neurological damage. All those rockers, they're going deaf because of neurological damage. So what happens if I change that to a dog whistle? You can't hear it. No damage. No inflammation. So no pain, no damage, no inflammation. So noise fields work as cloaking devices. So if your body can't perceive it, your body won't respond to it and won't react to it. And we talked about the heat shock protein study, and there was another study done by a number of researchers that showed there is no heat shock protein release with a noise field in place. So, noise fields, what is it? It's a waveform that attaches to the potentially damaging electromagnetic radiation wave. And when it attaches to that, your body can't perceive it. It can't perceive it, so no damage. And Dr. Igor Smirnov, a Russian physicist, he actually came up with a portable noise field. Got 2 or 3 US patents now. And what this does is, when it's exposed to radiation, which means it's always being exposed because it's everywhere.
Well, do people get sick from these noise fields? What's the problem?
Not from noise fields, from the radiation, yes, some do.
They do.
Oh, yeah. 3 to 8% of the world is electrically hypersensitive. So some people actually get sick. They can't be in Wi-Fi. They can't be in anything. And understand that Wi-Fi it's on in your house always. They talked about you shouldn't use your cell phone. It says in the manual, don't hold your cell phone right next to your body. 60 minutes in Wi-Fi is equal to 20 minutes on the cell phone.
So, Dr. Fisher, what are some of the effects of these electro-irradiation issues on our health?
Well, there are many. If we go back to Henry Lai talking about breaking of DNA, we know what breaking of DNA can lead to, and we're going to do a whole show on that. So, if we talk about, for example, the papers by Agarwal that shows a decreased sperm count, a decreased sperm motility, they can't swim very well. And where do men hold their phones?
Sometimes in our pants pockets.
Right. The Italians.
And how about the women?
They have them in their bras, and there have been links to breast cancer. If we quote an Australian neurosurgeon, Dr. Charlie Teo, who said, we know that radiation is used to kill tumors, but we know that radiation is also creating tumors. So if we talk about Vinny Karana, he's the top neurosurgeon in Australia. His quote is, the link between electromagnetic radiation, cell phone usage, and brain cancer is not a myth. So these are pretty powerful things.
Yes.
So why is everyone concerned? Because they should be. Men keep cell phones in their pocket right next to the most sensitive organs in their body. It's affecting the relationship. Now, there's something we could do about it. There's something that can make this virtually invisible to the body. It's a cloaking device for the body. And that's the invention of the Russian physicist, Dr. Igor Smirnov, and that's the EMRET, molecular resonance effect technology, cell phone chip, which works on, I have one on my bed, we have them on our computers, we have them on our phones. These little devices are passive, and what they in fact do is emanate a field that attaches itself, a noise field that attaches to the incoming radiation that makes it invisible to the body. And by making it invisible to the body, there is no change. We've seen the effects of a noise field on DNA breakage. It eliminates it.
Wow.
We have seen many effects of noise fields. So if you have a portable one,
That's this little chip here?
absolutely, and they're relatively inexpensive. And if you're going to stick your cell phone in your front pocket right next to important parts of your body or in your bra, and I never recommend sticking it in your bra or holding it next to your head, you want it so that the radiation can't damage DNA, can't damage any physiological elements in your body. You want to make it so you are protected. And the only portable noise field that I know is by Dr. Igor Smirnov. There are other devices out there, but they're frequency devices. And so what that would be having a bulletproof vest where the bullet hits you and you heal well. This device, the bullet never hit you.
So where can this little device be placed? The various places that we could put it.
It's got a field of approximately 6 feet 6 inches, or about 2 meters. So you can place it. We have one on our headboard, at the head of the bed, on a cell phone, on our computer, on a router,
Okay.
on a modem, in my car.
Okay.
On a hairdryer.
Anything that gets close to your body, on a vacuum cleaner, yes. Or you can just put one on your body and have it there all the time. So yes,
Wow.
you want one close to you. You want one within 6 feet 6 inches of you all the time.
Wow.
Okay. I think this is a very powerful device that maybe the persons in Caribbean and the rest of the world would want to get more involved with. Also, if you need more information, we can also go to Dr. Fisher's book, which is the Molecular Resonance Effect Technology, to get more information on this. Okay?
Dr. Fisher, I've even read some research recently, a gentleman, Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, who talks about 20 years ago when he said, let's see in 20 years the radical increase on neurological diseases, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Are you aware that there's been a 663% increase in women with neurological disorders in the last 20 years? Almost to the point where it's becoming the #1 disease on the planet.
Well, I wouldn't go there because cancer and heart disease are still
Absolutely.
far superior to that, and
On its way.
stroke and diabetes are round out the top 4. So that's okay. Parkinson's isn't a top; it's up there, and I understand that, and I'm aware of Klinghardt's work, and the bottom line is, yeah, but we can protect ourselves from this, so why not?
Amazing. And that's the bottom line. All right, folks, one love with Dr. Howard Fisher and my co-host Julia Brown. One love, over and out. See you next time.